Hi everybody, I'm back with another video to give you some more information about stuff. So now we're going to talk about the census. You probably heard me talking about it a lot in the last few months, and I'm not done talking about it. Although our outreach events are postponed for the moment, I'm still planning on doing them in the summer. But for now, we still can get the word out about the census. If you were able to come to any of my census trainings in the last few months, you'll already have a lot of this information. But if you haven't, I'd like to share some of the common questions that people are still asking. I know a lot of you are still communicating with your students, and even to check in. Maybe you're not tutoring, but you're just checking in. And maybe if they have questions about the census, you would be able to answer them for them and be their contact for that, or at least direct them into an area for support. We're going to talk about the languages, how to get language support. We're going to talk about how to fill out the census online. I'm going to show you a screen capture of me doing it for the first time. I have my letter and it is unopened, so we're going to do it together from start to finish and to show you how it works online. And then I'll show you how to fill it out on paper, and I'll share how to get language support on the phone if that is needed. I'm just going to start out by answering a few of the questions that I got a lot about the census, the most common questions. If you have a question that is not answered, I didn't address, please write it in the comments and I will get back to you with an answer. I will also be sharing the presentation and resources page that I had at all my trainings, so you can take a look at all of that too. Basically, there's a ton of information about the census, and I'm really happy to talk about it. As you can see, I'm just at home, and I'm happy to answer any questions. So let's start out by talking about some questions. So some of the most common questions I get, I will address now. The timeline, for one. A lot of people are still confused about the timeline, so most of you should have gotten this letter in the mail. There was talk of a postcard, but I never got to see a draft of one, and I don't know if they really happened. So if you got a postcard, I'd love to know. Just I'm curious about the postcard. But this is the letter I got. It's also related to the area that you live in. A lot of areas are on the last census were recorded as having low internet access, so those were given letters, and there's a chance that I'm in that neighborhood, which is why I got the letter. There's also a chance that we all got letters. It's a little bit topsy-turvy right now, and it was even before all of this. So the timeline. Letters and or postcards will be mailed out in the middle of March, so they have been mailed out, and they will be continually mailed out through April. At the end of April and beginning of May, enumerators, this is all speculative depending on how healthy it is to go outside, but at the moment it's still scheduled for, they're called enumerators. The census takers are going to be going to the houses that have not, it's called self-response, so have not responded already. So when you get your letter, you're able to fill out the census right away. You can write it on paper, you can call in, or you can do it online that minute. Especially now when we're sitting at home, we have time to do it. If you wait, you will continue to get letters, and then eventually people will come to your house and start knocking on the door. When they come to your house, they will come up to 6 times. And the goal with all of our participants is to keep everybody calm and safe. We're trying to get them to not come to our door. Nobody wants anybody knocking on your door. It's scary for some of us, and we just want to avoid it. So one thing that I've been pushing is for self-response. One of the things my outreach events we're going to do, we're going to have community events where we could fill out the census together, and I'd have access to computers. Obviously, those are postponed, but we can still work together to complete the census get an accurate count. It's very important. If someone knocks on your door, this is what you can tell your participants, but also so that you know. If someone knocks on your door and you decide that you don't want to answer, you don't have to answer. But if that reminds you, oh yes, the census I forgot, it's in a pile of mail, I'm going to do it now. You can still self-response all summer. You can ignore every door knock and just remember that it's a reminder that you should do it yourself. So those are options too. So just because someone came to your door doesn't mean you have to talk to them in person. You still have the option to do it yourself, which is great. One of the other things I talked about, it's important to get an accurate count. And why is it important? One of the things, there are many angles to talk about this issue. The census count affects how many representatives we have in the House of Representatives. I'm going to share a link to a really cute PSA that's the Census Bureau made. A lot of what the government makes is not cute and not easy to understand, and so this one is, and I just really want to play it up. I think they did a good job in this point. They affect how many representatives we have in the House, and that's really important when we're talking about getting resources. It's also like if you can picture a pile of money and we have to divide it up into the areas. So we've done this count, everybody's raised their hand, and then it's divided accordingly. If we miss a neighborhood, if a neighborhood has a low turnout for the census count, they get less resources. It doesn't mean that less people live there. It doesn't mean that the government doesn't know they're there because they're paying taxes. It just means that they weren't in the census and they aren't going to be allocated. This happens a lot in neighborhoods in Chicago where English is not the first language, where people just skip the census because it's confusing. And I think they're doing a lot of work this time to make it more accessible and do it in different ways so that we can get a better count. It's important, and it affects the next 10 years. So it's not something we could just do every year. Speaking of every year, another question I get is the American Community Survey. Is that the same? It is from the Census Bureau. It is not the same as the census. The American Community Survey is the one where we get all those questions of language and income level and education level. Those things are from the American Community Survey, and that is sent out every year to random smatterings of people. So you could get one, you could not get one. It's every year, and it's a different location, and it's a different group of people. It's a very rough estimate of those bigger ideas. The census is given to every single house every 10 years. It is mandated by this Constitution. It is nonpartisan. It is not related to the federal government in that way, like the federal administration. It is a separate entity. The Census Bureau is separate. So a question about security I get a lot is, will ICE or will my landlord or will my bank find out about this information? No. It's hard to explain that to a group of people that do not trust the government, rightly so. It's also hard to explain when they're just taking my word for it. So I encourage you to really use your connections with your participants to really help them feel at ease and show that undocumented or not, refugee or not, in a house or not, you count and you are important in our community, and we want you to be a part of our community and to be included. There's the information from the census will be available in 72 years, which is why you can start getting some of your grandparents' census information, but you can't get from like 10 years ago, you can't get individual names and addresses. But on things like Ancestry.com and things like that, you can start to see census records, but they're old. So 72 years is just a year that they picked, and that's the thing. There's a big fine and jail time for anyone that shares any information. It is very encrypted and it's very private. And the reason that we have to do the census in the first place is because it is not connected to the federal government in that way. So we all pay taxes, we get mail, so the government knows we're here. But the Census Bureau doesn't know we're here. They're very, very separate and they don't share information. ICE is not going to get this information. There's also not a lot of information on there. It's really just a count of who is in this building. And it really doesn't have anything to do with, there's no question about income or education or language or citizenship status, nothing like that. So it's really literally just standing around and raising your hand. And that's what we want to pass along as information, that it's not a big deal. It's very simple. And it's really, really important. I have a lot of information. I have informational flyers that I'd be happy to share with you in English and in Spanish. And if that is something that you want, I will include that. I will include that in the video. I mean, in the notes, so then you can have that access if you want to. If you are a skilled translator and would like to translate it, be my guest. That would be awesome. And then share with me what you've done if you do that. One other thing about the census I want to talk about is scams. There have been a few scams that have not come to Illinois as far as I know, but they have been around. The Republican National Convention has been sending out a mailer that looks like the census. It has something like this on the front, like it's required, response is required by law. It looks like a census, and then it asks you to donate money to the Republican National Convention, but it's written like a census. It's very tricky. Remind your participants you never have to pay for the census. You never have to give a social security number. You never have to give any information that's not on the form. And again, no one has to answer the door if you don't want to. So come on, baby. So again, if somebody's pressuring you to answer the census or somebody's asking you for money, that is not real. Just to reiterate that. I'm trying to think of other situations, but I think those are the basic ones. It's very important. We just need to emphasize that we want everybody counted, and it's really crucial to our community. So one of the things I have in my resources that I'll be sharing are a bunch of ways to talk about the census with adults with low literacy, whether in their home language or English. And so we can break it down. You can also get this practice. You can get a practice census. It's just the draft, and you can print it out or practice on a piece of paper or writing the answers. And you could do that with your tutor. That could be an activity that you do. A lot of it is very simple. It's a very simple form, as we'll see later. So if there are any questions, I'm trying to just give you the basic overview. It's a really simple process, but the government's made it seem really scary, and it's not. It's very important. It's something that I started to really care about. I didn't know about the census or really care that much, but now I really care. And I'm really proud to be working on it. So I really want to share that information with you. If there are any questions that you still have that I didn't answer and I didn't touch on, please leave them in the comments and I will get back to you right away. And if I have enough of the same one, I could post an addendum and make sure that we get that covered for everyone. Also, fill out your census yourself. Oh, one last thing that's about the census. You need to include everyone in your house. So whenever I say this, people always give me like really complicated situations, and I'm happy to filter through those with you to find out how many people you actually count. But you need to count the people living in your house on April 1st. So if someone is staying on your couch, they're living in your house on April 1st. Why April 1st and not today? April 1st is Census Day. They have to make a cutoff. So you think about, what does your house look like on April 1st? And if you do it after April 1st, what did it look like on April 1st? Do you have any babies? Do you have any older folks? Do you have any children? Do you have any friends? Do you have anybody that's staying with you? Those all count as people living in that house if they're there on April 1st. You need to count every baby in your house. And you think, they're just babies, who cares? And I know there was like a joke earlier on where people were making fun of, I think AOC was talking about how make sure you count the babies, and people were making fun of her, like who would forget a baby? People do it every single census. The children under 5 are the most undercounted group in the whole country, even amongst everyone else. People don't count babies, and that's a huge problem if you think about that 10 years later, that baby will be 10 or 11. And think about all the resources they need access to in the whole decade. So then it becomes a really big problem if you don't count the babies. So do count the babies. Do count everyone that's staying with you. If you have a specific situation that's really complicated, please let me know and we can work through it together. There are directions on the form about what to do about family members that are in college. and will live with you in the summer but don't live now, or family members that live in an assisted living facility. Those are being taken care of in those areas. Students will fill out the forms in the dorm, and the senior center will take care of those forms. Granted, now everything is upside down. People are home or not home or separated. There's lots of things going on. So if you have a specific question, I'm happy to talk to you about that. And then I will update when the Census Bureau has given more information. So what we're going to do now is we're going to open the census letter. I'm going to show you exactly what it looks like to open it for the first time and show you what the letter looks like and what we'll be looking for. And then I'm going to show you how to do the online completion, so how to complete the census online. And then I will be sharing some resources, some language resources, if your participant or you just want some extra support in the languages that are offered. It's not an English test. We just want you to get you counted. So you're allowed to help your student go through the census. You can't fill it out for them in person, but now especially you can't, but you can definitely help. So it could be a lesson that you do, just kind of do the census together. It might be fun and make it a little less stressful. Okay, so I have my letter. I'm going to open it. This is a letter that came in the mail. It says resident. It doesn't say my name. It just says resident. I got 2 in my mailbox, and one was from my upstairs neighbor. Okay, so we have this letter. It's folded in half. It's blue, has a blue tint to it. It kind of explains what the census is, but this is the important thing that we're looking for, this ID number here. So we want to save this. Here's some other information. Here's some frequently asked questions. Mine is in English and Spanish. I have Spanish on the back. I also have blue is English and green is Spanish. There's a chance that you might not get this bilingual copy. I live in an area that's predominantly Spanish speaking, so that could be why. There's a chance you'll only get English, although, you know, we never know. So if you only get, you're allowed to request a Spanish one though. And here's the important thing. This extra piece of paper in here is all the languages that are available. And it shows how to do the census by phone is on this side. It says in English, for help completing the 2020 questionnaire by phone, call this number. We also have, for those that are deaf and use alternate ways of communicating, they have that as well. And then they have it in Spanish, Chinese, Vietnamese, Korean, Russian, Arabic, Tagalog, Polish, French, Haitian Creole, Portuguese, and Japanese. So this is by phone. These are the languages you can get by phone. These are the languages you can get online. It's the same languages, but this has the directions on how to fill out the thing online, and it even explains how to get the language that you want. So here it says, in Spanish, it says, go to this website and select Espanol in the corner, in the top corner. So you're going to check, and I'll show you that when we go through the website together. So in my package, I didn't even get the form. So that was interesting to me. I didn't even get the paper form. So when I do receive that, I won't receive that because I'm filling it out right now. Okay, but I will, you've seen the sample. I'll send you another sample. If your participant chooses to fill it out on paper, we can go through that together, but it's very simple. We'll show you. So to answer my question from before, I wasn't sure about the postcards. This is probably instead of postcards. They're just sending the letter. There was no form. So I have my frequently asked questions sheet. I have my directions on how to do the telephone and online. And then I have kind of an informational sheet. And we're looking for this ID number right here. Okay, so let's do it online. Okay, so here we are at the website, and we're going to do this together. I've never done this before, and I'm going to show you how to do it. I have a lot of information about the census, but they have not shown us any information about the website. So here we go. Mine is in English. because that's the language I speak, but you can see down here that we have all these languages, and if we click here just to test what happens, it immediately changes the language. So you can make sure you read the instructions in your own language. So we'll check that here. There's also here, this is what it's talking about on the form with the upper right hand corner. So you have frequently asked questions. This is the same thing that's in your packet, and here are the instructions. So who should complete the census? We need one person. Navigation, you're going to use the next and the previous buttons. You can change responses, time limit, so 15 minutes. You can have the help link. That's kind of cool. And submitting. So once you've submitted it, you'll show that. So I just want to test something out. If I put this in Spanish, will the instructions be in Spanish? Yes. Okay, great. So please direct your students to that. Also show them this video if you want. You can turn the sound off. It's confusing, and then they can do that. So here's some little information. You must complete the questionnaire once you begin. So remind them once you start, you can't do it. Do not use the web browser, so don't use these. Use the buttons that are in here. And then it says the latest version of Chrome, things like that. Okay, so let's start. Let's see how it goes. Okay, so again, where can I find my code? That's on this. Oh, you can't see. That's on my green. That's on the paper I got in the mail. So I'm just gonna put in my, and it says it was wrong. Oops, because that is an R, not a 5. Oh, come on. 4G FG9P 65X4. Okay, great. So, are you completing the 2020 census for the address below? Yes. April 1st, will you be living or staying at this address? Yes. What is your telephone number? So, we will only contact you if they need it. So, I'm going to put in my information. All of this is blocked out. But I'm putting in my real information. I'm really doing this right now. Okay, so we're going to start with the household questions. Including yourself, how many people will be living or staying at this address? I'm going to have 2, my partner and I. We're not counting our cats. We don't have any babies. Here are the names listed so far. So now I'm going to write my partner's name. So here are the names that I have. So next. So we don't want to miss anybody. So is there anybody else? These are the names. This is me and my partner. Are there any additional people that we want on the list? No, nobody stays with us. And April 1st, with a house, apartment, or mobile home. Oh, will the house, apartment be owned by you or someone else? Or owned by someone else in this household, free and clear, without a mortgage, or I am rented. I am renting. So I am going to say my apartment is renting. Of the people who will be living, who will rent the apartment on April 1st? These people will be renting. Now we're going to do the people question. Oh, we've done the people question, so now we're going to start to answer questions about this person. So I'm going to put my sex, my birthday, and so I'm 33 years old. This is going to tell me on April 1st. My birthday is in June, so I'm actually going to be 34 this year, but they only worry about April 1st. So I am not of Hispanic, Latino, or Spanish origin. But you can put these. Yes, Mexican, Mexican-American, Chicano, Puerto Rican, Cuban. Yes, another Hispanic. And you can answer that here. Obviously, this is going to get complicated. It always is. So here's where it gets more complicated. So it says to do all the boxes that are related. So I am going to say Italian and Dutch. I don't know if that's what they really want. It looks like they do. So I'm Italian and I'm Dutch. So all of the rest of these I won't be clicking, but we have all of these options. Some other race. You're free to put all of these names in. So now I'm going to do the same with Eric. So we have all these choices. He is my partner. We're going to have same opposite sex unmarried partner. So we are not married yet. We are going to be married in July, but that does not count on April 1st. Opposite sex, and then we have same sex. So if you could be an unmarried partner or a same sex husband or spouse, and then who is this person in relation to me? So remember, I'm the one that's filling this out. So we're looking at the relationship to that person. So who is this? It could be other non-relative. That's someone that's just living with you. And Eric Chardon is a male. It says if you don't know the birthday, you can click here, but I do know his birthday. So he is 31. His birthday just happened. So Eric is also not Hispanic, Latino, or Spanish. He is white, and he is Hungarian and German. So that's how we'll do those things. So now we're going to talk about the final question. The final question is, would you like to make sure, we want to just make sure everyone, again, they're checking again. Do any of the people usually live somewhere else? So this would be if you have a daughter or son that's in college, and neither of us, both of us live here full time, so none of the above for us. So now we're finished, and all we're going to do is if you need to edit and go back and check, you can edit. Otherwise, we're going to submit the questionnaire, and we're finished. Here's our confirmation email, or confirmation letter. It says if you have any questions, you can call this number. It tells you exactly when you filled it out, and you could save or print this screen just to make sure. We'll just save it, and then we're done. So not too bad. All of that can be done in a different language too. Pretty cool. So that was pretty cool. We did the census together. I had never done it before, and I even made a mistake. So that's good. I made a mistake with the code. So hopefully that was helpful to you. It's pretty simple. But please ask me some questions if you have them. Love to talk about the census. I'm just drowning in census stuff. I'd love to give you free stickers, but I don't know how to get them to you. But we will make sure everybody is all stickered up once we are all out and able to get back together. Remember, the census is really important. You have a really great opportunity to make this really huge difference with your participants and your community. So I hope that you're able to do that. There's going to be more videos coming up, so check back. We're going to have lots of topics. If there's something you have a burning question about, please let us know, and we'll talk about it. Okay? So enjoy the rest of your day. Happy censusing to all of you. And get the word out. Get that count.